Today, we're going to look at a few common goal-setting mistakes you can avoid so you can crush your goals in 2021.
Welcome to The Friday Habit with Benjamin Manley and Mark Labriola II.
The Friday Habit is for creators, entrepreneurs, and agency owners looking for actionable ideas on how to grow their business and be more profitable.
We'll pull from our combined knowledge of over 20 years and interview thought leaders that will inspire you and give you the motivation you need to kick your business into high gear. Buckle up. It's Friday.
All right, man, goal crushing 2021. Let's go. Who's ready to goal crush? I am.
I'm ready.
All right. Icebreaker question.
I'm ready. I'm ready for this too.
Okay, good. Look at you, ready for everything 2021 has to offer.
Yep.
Would you rather always be itchy or always be cold?
Oh my gosh. I would rather always be cold. I think I could hide being cold a little bit, I could just I might shiver, I don't know, but I don't want to be itchy, like always like scratching all the time. People just like look at you weird, you're just scratching all the time. I'm going with cold, definitely. How about you?
I hate being cold, and it's been cold lately in Colorado.
And you love being itchy?
I mean, who doesn't love being itchy, you know?
Do you think there's somebody out there that like likes the feeling of being itchy?
I like scratching an itch. Like, that feels good. Like, do you ever have an itch and you scratch it and it's like, oh, that feels so good?
Here's a would you rather I just made up on the spot. Would you rather never have to scratch an itch again because you never get itchy, or would you rather have an itch every once in a while and scratch it?
That is so ridiculous. Hey, you guys, if you enjoy listening to the podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app. It helps us reach more people and get the word out and grow this community.
And yeah, quick note: we need to push down the last review from Adam Miller. Adam, somebody please leave a review that pushes his down further. I think that title is driving our listeners away. You'll see it when you go on there. I'm not going to say what it is, but if you go to the Apple Podcast app, look at our reviews, the top one, please leave a review, push that one down a little bit, and then we might get more reviews in the future.
We might get more. Get on 2021. I think a goal of yours should be to leave a review, for this podcast. You might think, oh, everybody's leaving reviews. Like, my review really won't matter, so why would I even go on and leave a review? Well, you're wrong. All right, get on there, leave a review. Every review matters.
Exactly. Every review matters.
And you know what we haven't had yet, and we've been pumping this for the past several episodes, is a voice memo. You just got to hop on your phone, click record, say something into your microphone, and then email it to the hello@thefridayhabit.com. That's it. And then you will hear your voice on our show.
And we probably won't make fun of you, right?
We probably won't, but we probably won't. So there's nothing to lose here. You get to be on a podcast, and how great will that be?
Exactly. Who knows how many people could hear it someday?
Someday. Many, many people. We're the number one podcast in the world right now. So
dozens. Dozens of people might hear your voice. Maybe tens of dozens.
Well, hey, Ben, today we're going to talk about 5 goal-setting mistakes that will undermine our successes. And I think as it's early on in the year, our goals haven't completely fallen off the wagon, and we're still showing up at the gym. We're eating healthy, trying to consume our gallon of water a day. But there are some things that get in the way of us, setting goals. So what are those 5 things?
Yeah, this is from a blog post that I wrote, and I actually recorded a video about this too. So if you want to go to knapsackcreative.com, if you'd rather read the blog version, you can check that out, or watch the video that's up there. It should be up there by the time that this episode goes live. But yeah, basically, I have just a few things that I think about when I'm goal setting, and basically these are mistakes that I've made repetitively when setting goals. So I was like, if I'm making them and I'm identifying them, I like to kind of clarify them in my own mind and maybe share them with other people, and they might be able to learn from it too. So number 1 is setting the wrong goals. So what I mean by that is, lots of times I'll just set a goal and the goal itself is the problem, not my dedication to meeting the goal. Like, the goal itself is actually not clear. So it makes it so that I'm not able to achieve it. It's kind of like having a vague goal, like get in shape. It's like, okay, It's actually not a good goal. I mean, the intention is great, but how will you know when you're done with that? You never will be done with that. You know what I mean? Like, so it needs to be something, in my opinion, that you can either check off or at least know clearly that you are at that status and that you can remain at that status, whatever it is.
Something that is achievable, a sense, right? Like kind of like working your way backwards from what that, like getting in shape, right? Well, that's one thing, but what does it take to get into shape? So maybe the goal should actually be go to the gym every day at 5 a.m.
Right. Totally. That's a great goal. Yeah. And say for X number of days or, and have some kind of definable thing with it. I think that's perfect. Or like for if you're doing sales or something like that, instead of just saying, I want to sell more websites or I want to, beat my record or whatever, it could be something like I want to increase our conversion rate in our first sales meetings, from 50% to 60% or something like that. So it kind of, set an end date of like by July 1st or something like that. So that way you can kind of measure what you're doing and make sure that you're actually making progress toward it. And the cool thing about having a really clear goal, I think, is it helps you think about all the things that surround it and clarifies your thinking on how to meet the goal. So another thing I'm planning to do this year is do it's called a sprint triathlon. So it's not like a hardcore triathlon where it's like, super far, like a marathon and all that, but it's shorter distances. I think it's a 5K run, a 20K bike ride, and I forget how far the swim is. It's either a quarter of a mile or a half a mile, something like that. I think it's a quarter of a mile.
Sweet. No one wheeling?
No one wheeling, unfortunately. I think I would dominate if there was one wheeling. I could sub that for swimming. That would be excellent. But my thought is like, okay, that's happening in May. That actually helps me clarify because I was like, all right, I want to get at least this time, in this sprint triathlon. And then it's like, okay, what do I do to get there? Like you said, like work backwards. Now I can say, all right, well, I'm going to need to start doing some 20-mile bike rides, probably, or not 20K bike rides, probably like once a week or so, start measuring how long that takes me, all that kind of stuff. And then I can set a specific time goal that I can hit. And then that helps me decide like what to do to work towards it. And it's more fun too, to me at least, to have a specific thing I'm trying to achieve than just kind of a general goal.
All right. So number one, setting the wrong goals. That's mistake number one. What's the mistake number two?
Mistake number two is forgetting your goals. And this sounds really dumb. And it's like, well, can't you remember your goals if they're important? And I agree. Yeah, that makes sense. But I am kind of dumb. So I forget my goals. And so I need, at least in the moment, or you might forget like why you care about your goal. So there's a lot of situations where, I forget in the moment or in that day what was important to me this quarter in my business. So, for example, we have a goal board that we created in our office that basically lists out all of our quarterly goals as a team and then also has all of our goals personally. So we can, as we walk into the office each day, see what those goals are so we don't forget them, because it's easy to get caught up in a client project or something that sounds fun to work on instead of thinking about, oh, what was the actual thing that I said it was important to start with and focusing on that.
Okay. Forgetting your goals. So we got to document it so that we don't forget it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, writing it down is helpful, and then just making it impossible to ignore by putting it up somewhere where you're just not going to forget about it.
Yeah. Make it visual.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Number three,
under planning. So this happens to me a lot. And so what I've tried to learn to do, and this actually kind of goes back to some of the stuff we talked about when we talked about time blocking, but actually scheduling it out on your calendar really helps me. So what I'll do is if I set a goal, I'll go ahead and set a recurring event on my calendar to help me meet that goal. So I have an event on my calendar of every morning I'm going to run at least 1 mile. And some mornings I do a 5K, some mornings I do 1 mile. But just over the next few weeks, I want to do that to get started on some of the running and stuff I need to do to get ready for this little triathlon thing. So those are the types of things I do, is like I go ahead and set aside the time ahead of time, basically put it on the calendar. And then another thing you can do to plan a little better and avoid under planning is like choosing what tools that you want to use and where you're going to work on it. So I already know in my head, okay, I know exactly where I'm going to run. I know what shoes I'm going to wear. We talk about this all the time, but like having your stuff laid out the night before to grab and run, take with you, but just knowing exactly like where I'm going to run and not being like, oh, do I want to drive to, to the track and run today, or do I want to run down the trail? Like it's already predefined. So there's no like wondering or figuring out. There's no friction to get started basically.
Yeah. And if you want to hear more about time blocking, head over to thefridayhabit.com or wherever you're listening to your podcast. And it's episode 47, and it's build a low stress business with time blocking. So you can educate yourself more on that part.
Another thing with under planning is making a backup plan, I think helps solve for that too. So basically, instead of just assuming everything is going to go according to how you originally planned, thinking about like, okay, what happens if I miss a day? I think this is really important with especially things like dieting or exercise, or I mean anything that requires repetitive kind of stuff. But basically knowing what is the backup plan when I mess this up, because you probably will at one point, like, and already making a decision in your head, like, oh, if I fall off the wagon, then my next step is going to be to start the next day, or do you make it up? Or what's the immediate next step you take when you recognize that you're not hitting your goal? Maybe it's to reevaluate or whatever, but do that thing and know what it is ahead of time. So then you kind of have a backup plan for when things don't go right.
Yeah, that's very important. And two, it helps you continually stay motivated, because a lot of times when you miss a target or kind of miss the mark, you get discouraged. You're like, well, fine, I'm just gonna like miss the rest of this week, because of that. But then it's like, all right, like I need to stay focused.
That's me. It's so bad. Like that's my probably one of my biggest weaknesses. Is just kind of like throwing it all away when I'm like, I missed one, and then mentally I'm like, oh, I need to come up with a whole new system and like figure out what my workout's gonna be like. No, I could just go out and start running. Like I don't have to figure out every perfect thing before I start exercising. So I'm really working on that and trying to get better at it.
Oh man, yeah. I hey, we're all in that boat together.
Yep. So,
all right, number 4,
doing it alone. That's another mistake. So, and actually, I think I have a statistic here. So, according to the American Society of Training and Development, scheduling a regular accountability check-in time can increase your chances of success by 95%.
95%?
Right.
That's huge.
It's like, that's a high percentage. That's very high. That's a big number, Ben. Wait a second.
That is really big.
Yeah.
So you make sure that whatever you do, don't do it alone.
I mean, basically, it's saying that it like doubles your chances of succeeding, which makes sense. I mean, it's the kind of the same thing with you and I have talked about recording this podcast. Even like, would we be on episode 51 or whatever this is today if we had not had the other person there every week to be like, hey, cool, you ready to jump on? Let's go ahead and record. I don't want I don't want to let you down. You don't want to let me down. Like let's make this podcast happen. When it's just yourself, it's easier to be like, I don't know, I'm kind of busy today. Maybe I should work on this instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I have a show called How'd You Get Here? And, I had some decent success with it, and I had a really good routine set with it for a while. But then when I missed a couple months and then kind of fell off the way, it was hard to get that thing spun back up. And it's still on the back burner of like, all right, I still want to continue that show for business purposes and things like that. But it is easier having an accountability buddy here to help you, like, and we help each other, right? It's like, okay, we're each booking guests or coming up with show ideas, and it kind of lessens the burden a little bit, and allows us to kind of keep moving forward. So don't do it alone.
Yeah, exactly. If you just have somebody, and I've even thought about like, who can I have in my life that, like, who do I respect and think about like, hey, this person is really good at this. I should hang out with them more so that I can learn to be more like them in this area. So if you know somebody that's really in shape and they work out regularly, maybe say, hey, can I work out with you in the mornings, and learn from you? If it's somebody that, you respect like their opinions on business and you want to start a podcast, cool. Talk to them about starting a podcast, and just think about the people in your life that are doing well in the areas you want to do well, and then try to reach out to them and tell them, hey, I respect you in this way. Would you be up for talking to me about this once a week so that I can get better at it? Yeah.
I mean, I always am constantly hearing about too, like getting a coach or, someone who can hold you accountable. I have some other friends who just swear by, having a personal coach, and that's like somebody they pay to essentially keep them motivated and, keep them moving forward.
I mean, that really works for me when it comes to financial advising. I think I told you about this, but I had been wanting to work on a financial plan for me and my family for a while, and I just kept putting it off because I just felt overwhelmed by all the different options and stuff like that. So then I just decided, oh, if I don't do this in the next 3 months, then I'm just going to call somebody and start paying somebody to help me with this. And 3 months came and went, and I was like, all right, time to pay somebody, because I'm hurting myself if I don't fix this. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that has been so helpful, because we check in once. I think it's usually like even once every 6 months or so. And even that is super helpful, just to have a conversation and say, like, his name's John. He's really, really helpful. And he basically comes and says, like, hey, here's the things we talked about last time. You know, how's it going with these? So he checks in and see if I did my homework. So I always feel like, oh, we're having a meeting with John, like, quick. I got to get all my stuff done before the meeting. And it's like the week before, you know, and I need to call these people. I need to get get a new version of our will made, all this stuff. Like, okay. So it just adds a little bit of pressure to have, somebody you're accountable to. And it's really helpful, I think. But even switching gears a tiny bit from that, another thing along with doing it alone, I think that kind of helps you avoid that and accountability and all the things we're talking about is our mutual friend Muita started in along with Justin Rossbacher. He's also my friend. I'm not sure if you've met Justin or not, but they just started this new service called Motivated Mornings, and it's really cool. It's like a online co-working experience basically that happens every morning. I think there's one that starts at 5 a.m. and one that starts at 9 a.m., I believe. But basically, it's a 2-hour session. And basically what you do is for the first 10 minutes, you get on and you kind of talk with other people on there. And they're like, okay, what are you working on? I'm working on this. What are you working on? I'm working on this. And you just say, like, hey, here's what's important that I need to get done in the next 2 hours. And then you just focus. You stay on video chat, but you just mute yourself. And then basically there's this little bit of pressure of like sitting in the same room studying with somebody else or working on a project. And then at the end, you kind of sign off and say, oh, cool, this is what I got done, how to go with you. And then you sign off. So it's really cool. And I think it really helps. There's a lot of people that's helped as far as staying on track with their goals and being able to actually get stuff done and get stuff accomplished. And it's cool because it's first thing in the morning. So it's kind of like the Friday habit idea of, hey, every Friday is blocked off. Well, for them, it's like, hey, 2 hours every morning is blocked off to actually focus on the most important work before everything else distracts you. So I think it's a good way to meet your goals. And if you want to check it out, it's motivatedmornings.work. And actually Knapsack built the website. So we built the site and turned out pretty cool. And I highly recommend checking them out if you're like interested in kind of looking for an accountability option. And I think they have a free trial for at least a week too that you can try out.
That's awesome. Yeah, and and even paying for it, I think if you're the type of person that really needs that accountability and help, to pay whatever that membership fee is most likely going to benefit you and be worth it. You can't spend enough on your self-help and your self-motivation. So I think that's totally great. I hope those guys continue to do it. Have you heard from them at all about how things have been going? And
yeah, they have a decent number of people sign up for launch. I don't know if I should say on the podcast how many, but it has gone really well so far, I think, for just launching. And yeah, I'm just looking here. It's $49 a month.
Yeah, it's so affordable.
Man, and you get to basically it's 5 days a week, I believe. So Monday through Friday, maybe 7, but I'm pretty sure it's 5 days a week. I should know since I helped build the website. But it's super, it's 2 hours every morning for 5. So that's 10 hours of productivity and accountability every week. Like, it's crazy how much you can get done in that amount of time. And $49 a month, if that's what it takes to get you over the hump, it's like that's nothing compared to what you'll be able to create with that time.
Yeah, and you think, being a solopreneur during these times as well with coronavirus, there's not a lot of places to meet people or network and things like that. So this seems like a really great opportunity for you to get out there and even meet some people that aren't in your direct sphere of influence that, you kind of use it as a way to encourage each other too, I bet.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense.
And number 5.
Giving up when it's not working. That's mistake number 5.
Oh.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously this happens, probably to everybody, but I think if you could build into your plan a way to basically expect to fail, that sounds super negative, but what I mean by that is if you can expect that at some point something's going to go off the rails, and even beyond what you had planned for before, like, oh, well, if I miss one day, then I'll do this. But let's say that you did a workout plan. It's actually not helping you even reach your goal of getting faster at the sprint triathlon. Like, your times aren't getting better. what do you do then? Do you just give up or do you reevaluate? So I think if you have a goal, what I've done is scheduled a time 1 month out already to for thinking time of 45 minutes to sit down and then look at my workout plan and say, hey, is my workout plan actually helping me or is this not working? Did I fail? Am I not being able to get up at this time every morning? Should I switch it to the afternoon? But basically, if you can just go ahead and schedule a time to reevaluate your plans right when you set your goals, then you kind of have a built-in fail-safe to help you fix anything that comes up.
Yeah. And what about not giving up too soon?
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense too. Yeah. You just basically sticking with it and just having a little bit of grit, a little bit of perseverance.
Yeah. Sometimes it's this diet and workout plan's not working. I haven't lost 100 pounds
Right.
in 4 weeks. It's well, you kind of got to keep pushing,
That's true. That one's hard for me too, because I like to get quick results. And if something isn't serving me a purpose, I'm nope. All right, I'm done with that. You know what I mean? So that's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes longer and patience. There's certain types of things you have to do repetitively for a very long time to see any results.
Yeah. All right. So what we need to do to meet our goals: 1, set the right goals; 2, keep our goals top of mind; 3, make the time to meet our goals; 4, be accountable instead of alone; and 5, reevaluate and adjust our plans.
Yep.
Love it. I think that's great. I don't think people talk about this enough. And I think that bringing all this to light will allow us to be better goal makers. So if you had one action item for us to take away this week, what would that be?
Well, if you haven't created your, goals for this year, I mean, not everybody does New Year's resolutions, but I think most business owners probably have at least some type of goal they're shooting for the year. So I would just take a look at the goals you've already set, if you have, and maybe just see if you have a backup plan for these, kind of evaluate them according to the list of things we talked about today. Think about, okay, could I, partner up with another business owner and check in once a week and see how things are going with their goal? And then that way you're both accountable. So I'd say either start with just setting your goals and making sure they're clear and realistic, like we talked about. If you've already done that, then I would say find an accountability partner or sign up for something like Motivated Mornings. Just make sure that you're checking in with somebody regularly.
Love it. Shout out to our friends over at Motivated Morning.
Cool.
Hey, guys, thanks so much for joining us today on this episode of The Friday Habit. If you go to thefridayhabit.com, you can find show notes there for this episode and other episodes as well. You can find links to our website and ways to get in touch. And at the bottom of the page, you can actually download a guide to the Friday Habit system. And it will show you how to set aside one full day each week to dedicate working on your business instead of in your business.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review in the Apple Podcast app. And if you have a question or any topic you want us to cover, don't forget to record us a quick little voice memo and email it to hello@thefridayhabit.com. We can't wait to make fun of you.
That's right. Thank you so much for listening to The Friday Habit. And until next time, live every day like it's Friday.